advertisement, which is what I'm going to play a clip for you about what Zuckerberg has said about what he wants to do with his platforms. Now, this is not just with the ads, this is with all content on the platforms. And he takes you through a history of what because he's been there from the beginning, right? He takes you through a history of what Facebook has been through and what he sees as the future. And obviously a big part
Am I
of it
gonna watch something?
is AI. Yeah, you'll be able to listen in here in just a second. So let me go ahead and pull it up.
Great.
Hey, Tone, why should people
sorry, I
come
have an
to
ad. I need
the
to
AI
get premium.
Get premium.
You don't have premium? Come on.
Has gone through 2 eras so far. First was when all content was from friends, family, and accounts that you followed directly. The second was when we added all of the creator content. Now, as AI makes it easier to create and remix content, we're going to add yet another huge corpus of content on top of those. Recommendation systems that understand all this content more deeply and can show you the right content to help you achieve your goals are going to be increasingly valuable.
So it's a really short clip, but this is what he says again. He says it's gone through 2 eras. First, you had content from your friends and family, right? That's the very beginning of Facebook. Second was the era of creator content. He literally says specifically creator content.
Does he say the year?
He doesn't say the year.
Okay.
No. My guess is that that's around the news feed, a little after the news feed. So 2010, 11, 12 is about when that happens, right? And he says now, as AI makes it easier to create and remix content, we're going to add a third huge, he calls it a corpus, of data, of content on top of those. Here's what he's saying when he says that. At the beginning, when you were there with your friends and family, they were the ones supplying you content. Nowadays, when you go on these platforms, you may see some of that to some degree,
Barely,
but
no.
it's less and less and less over time because what replaced that? Creators. Creators did because they were better at doing it. They were more entertaining. They were, in some cases, more interesting to you just because they, were more aligned with maybe your political beliefs or a special interest of yours or something like that. We're solidly at the peak of that right now. More and more. I mean, we talked about this last week and the week before that. The fact that Instagram is moving away from the home feed toward the Reels feed, because that really, what the main difference is not, it's a little bit of the UI to some degree, but it's really the recommendation that it shows more content from creators in the Reels feed. What does that mean though overall? The third era that he says is coming is with AI. So if you read that and you extrapolate the trend, if at the beginning, the people who were your friends and family replaced, traditional media, and then creators replaced your friends and family. Well, an AI is coming. What is AI going to replace? It's going to replace the creators. That's what he's implicitly saying. And he literally goes on to say after that he kind of expands a little bit and says, hey, we are going to have a better recommendation engine than ever before. We're spending more money on building out these data servers than ever before. We're going to really try and double down on the amount that we're creating, and that his belief is that they're not going to fully replace creators, but that he thinks that there's a huge, exponentially bigger amount of content that they can create that will compete out a lot of creators out of that other space so that they can own the entire relationship with the viewer at the end of the day, basically the fans at the end of the day of the platform, because they're going to be creating the content, they're going to be serving the content, and then they're going to be recommending the content. They get to do the entire circle all on their own. And so he's literally out there saying, this is what we're about to do. This is why we're spending billions of dollars on this data build out. And that's his vision for the future. So I just wanted to bring that up. I'm curious about what you think.
Yeah, it's what I just said.
It's exactly what you just said.
But it comes from the guy that's pulling all the strings, the maestro of the orchestra, the boss of the company. Literally, he's the boss, right? And Mark Zuckerberg is interesting because he's lasted, right, and stood the test of time, because that's not easy to do.
He's one of the last OG founders.
Yeah, for sure. And the fact that he started in 2004 and still here 21 years later, and he's always looking to the future. This is why they bought Instagram. That's why they bought WhatsApp, right?
Yeah.
That's what they bought. And they're all about surviving and thriving, right, in the next era. Hence why he changed from Facebook to Meta name. He went into the metaverse, and now part of that is he's going into AI. So if the CEO, the boss, is telling you this is the next phase, and me, the creator, you can say like I'm at the bottom of the rung here, is saying, guess what? It's competitive. then all you have left is the consumer.
Yes.
Right. And the consumers are like I told you, like I'm observing people. I'm doing it too. Other people are consuming AI content. And this is the beginning when it's the worst, when it's not nearly as good as it will be. And so, yeah, any short form creator, especially, you're going to hear it from them the most. If you're listening to this, you might be one of them. Oh, it won't compete against me. I'm better than the computer. Oh my gosh. You're just in denial because it's how you make money. Mm-hmm. But when a company, and you're already seeing it, Coca-Cola, right? I mean, they don't do any sponsorships with creators, which is funny. But guess what?
Google does.
Totally. When they can type into a computer, hey, I want this person, literally, like they can take your likeness and create their own avatar that's a little bit different, okay? Say, hey, tell them to say these lines. They're going to be flying through the sky, riding on a rainbow unicorn, and they're going to be, I mean, all those cool commercials, like, you know, my first thought is the Old Spice guy, right?
Yeah.
The Old Spice guy, I think he rides like a unicorn at one point, whatever. That was like a real human on a real horse, or at least like a
it was a full set. It was all practical.
Full set, whatever, and it actually was a like epic commercial. That is, you can make it through AI now. Okay, that's what's kind of funny. Maybe the person isn't AI, maybe the person's real, but everything else can be AI'd out, and it's as much value, if not more value, because it's more entertaining. Okay. It's kind of game over for short form creators, which is kind of sad to say. The way it was before. You've got to do something more innovative or different, right? You can't just rely on it. What's interesting to me is, you know, there's a guy named John Cortese that I follow on Seattle, like content. He's the kind of person that will win this game versus the other people who are doing like highly produced stuff, because his is not produced. You know, I told him recently, I was meeting up with him at like this restaurant. And I said, you know, one of your best videos is the one that was like barely edited, right? It's just you walking through town. I think it was like 2 or 3 minutes. He even told me that was one of his most viewed videos. He was getting flowers for his girlfriend at Pike Place Market, you know, this like a farmer's market in Seattle. And what's interesting is it probably was the least amount of work, but it was the one that stood out of everything. That's not by accident, right? Because the one thing I will say with this whole wave of AI content, and then Mark Zuckerberg saying, what's his technical term for it?
Corpus.
Corpus, yeah. Okay? Basically, it's like the next era in his world. People start wanting different, and they also want novelty. And the key word here, nostalgic. Nostalgic. Guess what? Human-like, real life, that's what's going to be a nostalgic novelty, and people will seek that, okay? Just like Sora is all in on AI, like that's all the content that's on there. I actually believe there will be platforms that like no AI is allowed, right? Like if we see AI, it's not allowed, and there's going to be people that are going to be into that. You know what is on Facebook feeds, right? Let's talk about Facebook, like, because we're on the Mark Zuckerberg thing. So first era was family and friends, right? And then they redid the wall and made it algorithmic.
Yes.
And then you got the era of creators, okay? And then guess what? Like creators are better at entertaining you, engaging with you, and even to a certain degree relating to you than your family and friends, because your family and friends is just a pool of people in your community or in your life, versus creators is all over the world, right? So if you're super obsessed with organic cherry tomatoes, how many people like that are in your neighborhood? Not very many, but like around the world, tons, right? You can make a community. And then this next era being the AI era, because now it's not just organic cherry tomatoes, it might be black crim organic cherry you don't even know what that is. No. Right? Black crim is a type. I just grew it this year. So say you're like super obsessed with that. The amount of people that are just obsessed with that is so small, but on AI, you could go to town. But guess what becomes novel? And Facebook does it. Oh, only people I'm friends with tab. I go to that quite often, right? Like I just want to know what my family and friends. That's become novel. Well, what's novel about AI is just real humans. So like the creators become like the novelty,
yes,
right? Like a little bit different than AI, because the volume AI content is just going to beat all of us creators. So like I just talked about it. In 30 minutes, I can do a 30-second spot. In 30 minutes, how many AI things? Like I use AI like platforms where literally like it takes me about 30 seconds to create a real good prompt. Okay, so let's just do the math. That's 60 to my one 30-second spot, right? 60 piece of content going against my one. I can't beat a computer. Even if my content ultimately is as good as the one of the 60, well, what if they do it again and again and again, and then you multiply it, right? It's a volume game. You know, like I teach vlogging, and then it's called Vlogging Academy. And the first phase of that is all about doing daily. Because in daily, that's when you learn a lot, right? You gain the skills and you get the experiences and the instinct to know what is the banger vlog, right? Well, this is a thing. If that applies to me as a vlogger, that also applies to literally everything else, including AI, including creators that utilize AI, or worse, AI creators. How does AI, what is this? Like, let's back it up. ChatGPT, its language learning model. How does it learn?
ChatGPT it learns, quote unquote, in a couple of different ways. The very first way to think about it is that it takes a bunch of text all over the internet and runs it through a machine and tunes a bunch of little knobs and dials on this like giant machine in the background, and then it leaves those, and then what it does is it says, okay, well, we're going to put the next one in, and we're going to tune them again to better make it so that way it can predict
how
language.
Quick does it do it?
The learning process, it's very, very slow, actually.
Okay, but does it wait for a human to do it?
Well, what do you mean by that?
What I'm saying is, like, does it wait for a human to like press a button, or does they like program it and then it just goes to town?
Well, there's kind of two distinct phases, right? And it's important that you understand this if you're trying to think about AI, right? Which is that the first phase is what they call pre-training. They go and they do all of the creation of the model. The best example that I can come up with is like a computer chip.
Yeah.
You have to go and you have to plan out all the little circuits on the computer chip, right? And then what you do is you run all of the sand basically into one side of the factory. And when you have the plan, you can have the plant go stamp out all these different computer chips.
Exactly. Yeah. And is that doing it based off of a human paying attention, or is it automated?
There's a degree to human involvement, but for the most part, I mean, it's a program, right? So that's the whole point, is that it's automated and sucking that stuff in.
And I guess this is going into the weeds, but ultimately, like synthetic data, for example, right? Explain synthetic data real quick.
The idea of synthetic data is that it's improving certain characteristics of the model by generating content that it can then feed back into.
Who's generating
itself.
that content?
The AI platforms are.
On their own.
Yeah, on their own. Yeah.
That's my point. The AI's already doing things automatically on their own. What happens when what I just talked about, like somebody that's doing the prompts, right? I just said it takes me 30 seconds to do a good prompt to create a 30-second, or not a 30-second video, a much shorter video, but still it could be a good 10-second video today, right? What happens when it's 30 seconds? And I can do 60 of those in my 30 minutes versus it takes me 30 minutes to do one 30-second spot on my own as a human. Well, AI is going to be like 100x that when it's able to create content. And it doesn't have to make all of them good. It just needs one of those to beat my one. So even if it's at the speed of me, right? Like I said, like doing prompts.
Yes.
So doing 60 in 30 minutes because it takes 30 seconds, right? What I'm saying is after 30 minutes of work, people usually take a break, right? Will AI take a break?
Definitely not.
Definitely not. It will work through the night when you're sleeping, right? And then after you work a 5-day and you take the weekend off, that thing just keeps going. And that's exponential. You know what's funny when I say I kind of got glimpses of Matrix? I was asking you, hey, at the beginning, does it do it automatically? Oh, no, there's some human involvement. Would you say us using ChatGPT is part of the human involvement?
It is. Yep.
Okay. We're all slaves to ChatGPT.
to
the AI, right? Like we're literally inputting the stuff that's making it better. You know, I did a search recently. By the way, I'm giving away my information. I typed in on ChatGPT, teach me Benji's new vlogging method. and it pulled up a podcast of mine, laid out my whole method. And that's a good example of me like working for ChatGPT. And it's taking it, repackaging it. And guess what? It can further like based off of more prompts and questions, whatever.
Yeah, so that is a slightly different thing, and it actually is equally important to understand, right? Because what's happening there, right, is that you went on a podcast with Sean Cannell of Think Media. It was a great podcast. Definitely go recommend checking it out and checking out what Think is doing over there. And you laid out the kind of high level prescription of what the new vlogging method is, what we teach in our product at Vlogging Academy, right? And there's that pre-training thing that I talked about. Then you have the chip itself, right? And then what you do is that then these companies, they put these chips in data servers, and then they let everybody talk to the chip, and then it comes back and is helpful to you. That's what you think of as AI when you're using it, right? Over time, what it's done is it's done something else. This is the second kind of learning that's happening, is that it will go and do a Google search, and then we'll take all of the data from that Google search and include it in an answer. So it's real time, right? Whatever's on the line, they can sort of tap into.
How quickly?
Well, as soon as it's online.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like
for me to do that research, though, how long would it taken for me to consume the content, break it down, and write a report on it?
Well, the podcast is an hour. The cut down version is 20 minutes.
Want to know how long it took ChatGPT? Not even 60 seconds.
Totally. Exactly.
So that's a good example, right?
Yeah. And that's what I mean is that the reason it's important to understand that is because anything that's public online becomes free game for the AI systems.
Especially social media.
Yeah, especially social media.
You like agree to let them use your content the way they want to. You're like releasing it, right? Like there's no license here or ownership of it, right? You own your own IP. That's only if you have a trademark, by the way, right? Like I think like your own personal identity you can own to a certain degree, but all that information, you're just giving it away, which we all kind of know that. The difference is we just never thought like there'd be a machine that could just pull it up like that, right? And just like be a good substitute to the real thing. And so we went from how did LLMs work, how programmers created the thing, and then, you know, like them doing the synthetic data and like creating its own thing to like a prompt versus me actually recording content to even like content that's been recorded, regurgitated. It's the whole making the actual AI brain so smart that in a year from now, when I make a prompt for something, it will blow your mind. But then what happens when it can do it on its own? So there's going to be a time where the only thing that creators and just humans in general can do is just be themselves in real time and just go live. Really, that's like,
oh, interesting.
That is the future. I'm telling you, even vlogging, like there will be a time. I didn't think this like 6 months ago. I really believe there's a time where an AI program can make my shopping vlog and it looks real enough or interesting enough or something crazy that it would be a replacement for me vlogging at Costco for a certain amount of people. Not everybody, right? For a certain amount of people. The only thing that I can do. Now, this is kind of going into the future, okay? This might be like 2 to 5 years out, but still, that's not that long, okay? Just being yourself live. Live streaming is really a future, including for vlogging down the road, just because this stuff is getting so good.
I can see what you're saying there. I think one of the advantages technically that live has over AI is that it's harder to do the generation and reactivity live. I think that as time goes on, that's also going to kind of get whittled away. And so I guess my more hopeful side says that, you know, the same kind of things that we preach now are going to continue to work for creators. The negative side from me says it's going to be harder than ever to get discovered, and that begins on the short form side and then will eventually move to the long form side over time, right? So what I hear you saying about, you know, this automated nature of things, the speed of learning, the concerns you have about outcompeting, to me the one that speaks the loudest is what Zuckerberg says at the beginning. He's literally trying to build the system to outcompete the creators, right? He just wants to increase the competition and bring all those costs to zero for them. I mean, they basically already have it for free, but why not really go for free and personalize everything for the creators?
He has all the data too. I want to bring up one more thing that I think is really relevant. Elon Musk was on Joe Rogan, and he made a comment about what a computer used to be. Do you know what a computer used to be? before it was an actual computer. What was it?
It was a person that was sitting there doing computations on a piece of paper.
And Nietzsche, you should look up this movie. There's a Kevin Costner movie about the NASA program, and they're trying to get a man into space, and to do the calculations for the rockets and for the space shuttle. Kevin Costner, the director of the launch program, would have to get calculations done. So to do calculations, he had a room full of really smart looking dudes, but actually in a back room in a whole nother building, there was a whole room of, in this movie, African-American women, right? Doing all the calculations. They were the real computers, okay? Yeah. So they would have like this equation, and if they couldn't figure it out, they would send it to them. They do all the calculations, and there's a scene of a lady running with paper or whatever, right? And did you bring up the movie?
Yeah, it's Hidden Figures.
Hidden Figures.
Yeah,
It's one of my favorite movies because this is exactly what Elon Musk was saying. And this doesn't just during the NASA era, even before that, a computer was a human. Do we even like right now my girls are learning multiplications, and I'm like insisting they memorize all the multiplications, but the real truth is, will they ever really need it if like a computer can do it so fast? They don't. Okay, so my point is, think about that. Those women, those people, right? It was men and women doing the computer calculations, and they're like so good. They could fill the whole paper with like a calculus equation or whatever. I don't even know what their like problems.
Oh, they're definitely doing calculus.
Okay, for sure. Okay, pages and pages and pages to get that, doing that. If you told them, hey, one day there'll be a computer inside this movie, they actually setting up these computers.
Yeah.
And the whole thing was the women were beating the computers. But remember, that was the first iteration. The computer was the size of a room, and it would print one piece of paper. But it was the beginning and the end. Those jobs are completely gone. I'm telling you, even for a creator, it's going to be similar. We can't fathom it. We're the creator company guys, right? We support creators. So I'm not saying they won't be relevant or they won't be. It'll be different. So we're seeing the first iteration. We're seeing the first big computer that's barely competing against a really smart women in this movie that are just like doing laps around it. That's what AI is right now. When the AI, which is a huge computer room, becomes like your handheld computer, which now is the phone, right? That is our modern day computer. Just think about where AI will be. Those women, what are they doing, right? That room full of women, I think like in that scene, there was like 30 women in there or something like that. And then in the NASA room with all the smart guys, the women were smarter, honestly, but like they're all smart people. You even said it, right? They're just faster. It's less expensive, and it could be a smaller team. The question is, who stayed on the team? It's probably the smartest people, the most capable people, the one that continue to innovate and grow and not put their head in the sand. It's like, oh, we'll always be doing this.
I can tell you historically, actually, who did survive out of those computers. It was literally women who were there doing the computer roles, who then went to go program the actual like mechanistic computers built by like IBM at the time, right? Literally, and this is why women were like the first programmers, is because they were all doing the computer thing.
Yes.
And so then they had to be the ones that wrote the programs for the thing that was going to replace them.
So this is a good example. Creators will still exist, but not the way they exist right now. See, the most valuable thing right now is your creative brain. So we're talking about prompts, right? The thing is, like, if the average person does a prompt, they're going to create like a video that looks cool. But if a creator or a creative type of person creates a prompt, right, they're going to like finesse it. They're going to like make it a little better. They're going to improve it. They're like, oh, this doesn't look quite real. Where the normal person, they're like, dang, Sora just made me like lift up an asteroid into the sky. The creative person goes a little bit farther distance. So my point is this, AI is getting so good that it's going to create so much competition for short form creators and just creators like me in general, that you have to be those people that think about what is the next iteration in this era. Where is my skills the most valuable? It might not be like in short form doing something that's competing against a computer, because it gets better and better. Every time I put out a video, I'm training the computer. You get what I'm saying?
Yes, that's very true. Just like we talked about with the Think interview, is that when you post it up there, it is training to a degree, but really ultimately it is allowing it to draw from your knowledge.
But
and
even
pull
the
from
creative side of it, my image.
Yeah, definitely. To a degree.
The more data it has, the more likely it is. So that's not like a doom and gloom. It's just like, if you're not thinking this way, you should start thinking this way and not try to do something that's going to beat AI. Do something that AI is not able to do. AI will never be real. It's always going to be fake. So always be real and authentic. And right now, the thing that AI can do is longer videos. Hence why we teach Vlogging Academy, not just because people want to vlog, but I actually think right now in the short term, in the next 1 to 5 years, vlogging will do laps around AI.